Well, welcome back to Life Along the Streetcar podcast. This originally aired on Downtown Radio, 99.1 FM, and streaming across the globe on downtownradio.org. We like to cover the people, the places, and the events in the urban core that are making a huge impact socially, culturally, economically, and occasionally we take a little bit of a road trip, and that's what we are doing today. We've got Herb Wagner with the Tucson Rodeo Parade, and this year in 2026, it's going to mark the 101st year of the rodeo and the nation's longest non-motorized parade. It has become, well, I think it's always been a cultural, social, and economic impact in our region, and I'm excited to chat a little bit about it and find out more about Herb and the rodeo. So Herb, welcome in.
Glad to be here.
All right. Well, you and I met briefly at the celebration for Tucson's birthday at the Presidio, 250 years. And the rodeo just seems like a little baby compared to that.
Well, it is. We just celebrated the 100th year working on number 101.
Well, I moved to Tucson in 1993, and I remember I was in the food business, and someone asked me if they could have time off for rodeo days. And being from Columbus, I sort of laughed like, haha, yeah, I'm the new kid, but you're not going to fool me with that. And then I found out it's a thing. We shut down for a few days. I think it was 3 days at one point. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to cover. We've got a museum, we've got an event, we've got a rodeo, we've got a parade. Where do we start?
Well, I guess we can go back almost 101 years.
Okay.
There was a gentleman, a transplanted Easterner by the name of Frederick Leighton Kramer. He was a polo enthusiast.
Okay.
He had polo teams back east that competed very well. He had some health problems, lung issues, and of course back then the thing to do is go to the dry climate. So he moved out here to Arizona, and being the polo enthusiast he got polo teams together. He in fact started the polo team at the University of Arizona. And one of the things he wanted to do was take his team back east to compete with his old buddies back in New Jersey and New York. So his idea, and he approached some of the local businessmen, was to hold a rodeo. Because he grew up back east, he remembers the traveling Wild West shows, the Bill Cody and all these guys that brought the Native Americans and the gunfights and that whole thing. And they had a rodeo as part of those Wild West shows. He remembered that, thought it'd be a good idea to come out here, and have one out here to get some money to send his team back east. Well, most of the local businessmen thought he was a little crazy because with all the ranches and things that we have here in Tucson, the working ranches outside of Tucson, there were rodeos every weekend. The cowboys all competed against each other for, jackpot type money. But they finally warmed to the idea when he talked about how this might be able to bring visitors to Tucson, and if they promoted it correctly, and their businesses would benefit from it. So they all got on board, and so in 1925, we had the first Tucson Rodeo. And it was a 3-day event that began on Friday, ran through Sunday. But one of the things that he wanted to do to promote the rodeo was have a parade at the beginning of the event. So the local businesses all sponsored some type of an entry in it. He required all of the participants in the rodeo to ride in the rodeo parade. And of course, the businessmen who were here in Tucson wanted the parade to wind past their business.
Of course.
So that people standing outside would be, and when it was over, perhaps they'd go inside and eat lunch or purchase or do something like that. So it was quite a circuitous route around downtown Tucson back then. It was led by the Nogales U.S. Army band that was stationed in Nogales. They had another Army band from Fort Huachuca that came in there. The University of Arizona band did not participate in the parade, but they played at the rodeo. So the parade began, wound through downtown Tucson, and then headed straight out to the rodeo grounds, which were at Kramer's ranch called Kramer's Field out there, which is about the location of where the University Hospital is today.
Okay.
So people followed the whole group out there for the first day's rodeo on Friday afternoon. There was born the Tucson Rodeo Parade.
Well, so then the parade, it is slightly older by a few minutes than the rodeo itself then.
Basically, yes. We've traditionally been the kickoff for the Tucson Rodeo. It expanded to 4 days in the early 1940s, and that's where the idea that schools would close on the Thursday and Friday of rodeo weekend so that students could both participate and come watch the rodeo parade on Thursday and then join in with the festivities for the rodeo the rest of the week. Something that everybody looked forward to, especially the kids, was that they were able to wear Levi's to school, because back then you didn't wear jeans to school.
Sure.
Girls never wore pants, but rodeo week they were able to wear jeans.
So special for many reasons.
Yes.
This idea, though, you said that we were doing rodeos every weekend. When they formalized it into what became the Tucson Rodeo, was it those same local cowboys, or did it immediately bring people in from around the United States to participate?
There were a lot of local cowboys, but at the time there was an organization called the Cowboy Turtle Association, which eventually became the Pro Rodeo Cowboys Association that we have today as the Professional Cowboys. Call it a union or a group. But yes, they brought in some from around the country, but most of them were local participants.
How did the local cowboys do versus the?
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well. Most of them had skills that they used every day on the ranch, which of course is how the whole rodeo began. But some of those cowboys would travel with those Wild West shows and things like that, the pros, so to speak. But it became a melding of local and talented things until the association took over and said you had to be a member to be in the professional rodeo.
Gotcha. And rodeos are not, I mean, obviously they were not new at the time. Were rodeos of this size, like a city kind of hosting a rodeo? Was that done a lot back in
there were some around the country, mostly back east in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Texas, and actually in California had quite a few rodeos.
Okay. And then and this could be completely wrong because I make up a lot of things and I don't do a lot of research. Female participation. Were female riders in the first rodeo?
There were female riders in the first rodeo. They were more of an anomaly.
Yeah.
There was one woman by the name of Hastings, Fox Hastings, excuse me, who bulldogged and rode wild rough stock, and also participated in roping. She was a unique thing. She actually did steer wrestling, and we have photos of her. She's wearing an old leather football helmet when she did it to protect her, whereas the other cowboys didn't,
And what I have heard, it was that Tucson may have been one of the very first to include females in the actual rodeo competition.
It's my understanding that that is true.
All right, there we go. See, we're always trendsetters here, even 101 years ago.
That's right.
Well, so then let's kind of fast forward a little bit, maybe just 100, 67, 80 years at this point. Trying to figure out when you got involved. You got involved in the 80s.
Yes, I volunteered for my first rodeo in 1983.
Were you a cowboy?
I'm not a cowboy in any means.
Okay.
I ride horses, friends' horses, but mostly just, pleasure riding. I can't rope. I wouldn't want to be on a horse. I've fallen off many horses, but it's not.
Which I understand is not good for the rodeo competition.
Not at all.
So 1983, you're like, hey, I think I'll just go down and volunteer.
Well, I had some friends whose fathers were involved with the rodeo parade. They were members of the committee, and they asked some of us to come down on a Sunday to help push wagons around because we were, the younger guys. I think I was 26 or so, and we went down as a group, had some fun, enjoyed it. And one of the days when I was down there, I didn't even realize. I mean, I went to the rodeo parade when I was a kid, obviously. Saw my sister march in the high school band and all that. In fact, she was on horseback for the South Point Lancers. She was the Lancer on horseback in a couple of the parades back in the late 50s. So, but anyway, I was down there and had no idea that there was a museum. And one of the older guys, and I call him an older guy, but he's probably younger than I am now at the time, took me aside and started showing me around this museum. that they had put together. And I was just, being born and raised here, I was like, this is wow, I didn't know this existed. This is really cool. I'm in. Let's be part of it. So it became sort of my civic adventure.
So when did the museum come about? Because that was in the 80s. So it's been there for a while. Is it?
Yes, it was. The idea came about in the mid '60s,
Okay.
and they thought, with all the wagons that we have in our collection, why don't we put them on display except once a year? They decided to use the workshops that we had down there, which is at the rodeo grounds, which used to be the Pima County Fairgrounds. Before that, they were the stables for the city of Tucson for their horse-drawn equipment back in the early.
So where the rodeo happens now was the fairgrounds.
Yes.
I knew that, but prior to that,
It was a city-owned property that had stables on it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it had stables there to
Things
hold
I
there.
learned on this show. It's fabulous.
Because back in the early 1900s, we still had lots of horse-drawn equipment.
Sure.
But anyway, they decided to build up this little museum, and in 1965, they dedicated it in true rodeo fashion by having the 1965 rodeo queen ride through the cutting ribbon at the main entrance.
Of course. And I'm assuming over the years the collection has probably grown quite a bit.
Yes. So over the years, hearing about how we've acquired all these wagons, a lot of them have been given to us by the city of Tucson. Has given us several of their old wagons that we kind of acquired as we took over the property back in the early 1930s. But we were able to purchase some the old. This is all in a history of the parade and museum. We were able to acquire some that were from a collection from a woman in Phoenix who put an ad in the paper, said, we want to get rid of all these. We had a bunch of buggies. They were still in crates. This is in the 1930s.
Oh my gosh.
People were weren't using horse-drawn equipment anymore. And I don't know if
it's just junk to them at that point, just clutter.
Basically, so they went up, and I think for the grand total of about $40, they brought back 12 buggies, brought them back, put them together, and that was kind of the beginning of a real collection. And over the years, we've gotten donations from local farms and ranches. We've acquired some from people from back east. Some of our winter visitors who come out volunteered during the rodeo, and they remembered. When I was on the farm, we had these wagons and all this, and then my uncle has one, back in a barn. Would you like it?
Absolutely.
So we've been acquiring wagons for a long, long time. In fact, just this last summer, we acquired 5 circus wagons from the Scripps Miramar Ranch over in San Diego as donations to our collection.
So the nation's longest non-motorized parade just seems like it's going to get bigger and bigger.
Well, we hope so.
So I want to shift gears briefly and then come back to this, because just before we went on the air, you were telling me about an event I had no idea existed, but it's going to be in its 5th year in a couple of weeks. It's called History
Relived.
Tell us about this.
Okay, what we've thought about a few years back, because, being a small museum in Tucson, there are lots of, there's a little association of people that have similar interests and for historical purposes. And we decided that it would be kind of nice, the group decided that it would be kind of nice if we kind of got together to promote each other. So it started out by just having our flyers and leaflets at each other's museums. And then the idea came that, hey, how about we open, we get together and kind of have a conference or a convention and invite the public to look and see what we have. We have a large area because it's open courtyard area and several buildings. So we hosted it the first time 5 years ago, invited all of our local museums, the Arizona Historical Society, the State Museum at the university, the 3 or 4 automobile museums that are here, Pima Air and Space Museum, all to come down and set up a display and promote themselves. Also, other historic groups like the Southern Arizona Buffalo Soldiers Association, nice. Some of the Los Descendientes de Tucson group that's there. We have the Chinese Cultural Society comes and sets up down there. So we have a lot of different groups that get together. I think we had last year just a guesstimating 27 different groups here in town that set up for that one day. It's free and open to the public. This year we're doing it on January 24th, a Saturday, from 9:30 to 2 p.m., 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Public's invited to come and see what Southern Arizona has involved. And we have, and not just from Tucson, we have besides other attractions like Old Tucson and the Mescal movie set, the Empire Ranch Foundation will be there. We have some folks from the Fort Huachuca coming in. So, yeah, we've got a lot of Southern Arizona groups coming in. So we invite the public to come and visit and see what's available out there.
I feel like I have another road trip coming in as we we talk about this too. So back to the parade, the rodeo, the museum. My understanding is that you are completely overwhelmed with volunteers and do not need any more help. Is that correct? No, that's not accurate.
That's absolutely incorrect.
Okay. How do people get involved? How do they support?
They can. We always are looking for volunteers because we really can't. Our committee, by our bylaws, has a maximum of 36 members. Right now, we're down to about 25 full members. We've got 10 associates who will be moving up with us soon, but. We can always use volunteers because obviously on parade day last year we had over 250 volunteers helping us out both on horseback and on foot. The foot marshals are very important to us in keeping the crowds under control, keeping roads clear, things like that. We also get a lot of help from the Tucson police and other security agencies that we hire to help us, but our volunteers on parade day are essential.
Is there like a website they can sign up?
Yes, they can go to TucsonRodeoParade.org and click on the little link for volunteers and put their information in there, and we'll be back in touch with them to get them ready. We have several meetings to talk about the different types of volunteers that we have.
Okay.
Because
you've got all kinds of different things that can be done there, and now you throw in history relived and all of these other things. I'm sure they're all connected.
Yeah, we can use the museum docents. We have folks that help us out in refurbishing and repairing the wagons. You don't have to know anything; we'll teach you. I learned that way because I didn't know anything about the wagons, and I had some of the older gentlemen who were part of the committee who grew up on farms and ranches, taught me this, and we're passing the information along.
Fantastic.
And I still learn things every day from visitors to the museum who come from back east and point something out and tell me something.
Well, it's Herb Wagner. We're talking about the Tucson Rodeo Parade, the Wagon Museum, the rodeo, the history. Man, there's got a lot going on this show today. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you spending some time with us, and successful 2026. And we're going to have to catch up and talk more about history relived I'm going to go check that out, and then maybe as we roll into next year, we can kind of focus on that. But I really appreciate your time today.
Sure, and don't forget the Rodeo Parade on February 26th,
oh, yeah,
9 a.m.
You should probably go to that too. Well, if you have any ideas or suggestions for our show, we encourage you to reach out to us through our social media, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Spotify. We're all over the place. Just the handle is Life Along the Streetcar. Our website's lifealongthestreetcar.org for past episodes, audio, video, information on our book, or just a simple way to contact us. I appreciate the support of our executive producer, James Portis, our associate producer, Amanda Burns, and of course, each week we have the pleasure of Ryan Hood providing our intro and our outro music. I hope you tune in each week for more Life Along the Streetcar. And until next time, stay curious, Tucson.